What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Joe Rogan and Dustin Poirier talk about Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev might have said after his win over Renato Moicano that the UFC's plans for him did not include fights with Arman Tsarukyan, Charles Oliveira, or Ilia Topuria, but that hasn't stopped the MMA community from talking about a fight between these two champs. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. During Saturday's pay-per-view card, Joe Rogan, Brendan Schaub, Brian Callen, and Matt Serra all jumped on the Fight Companion episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, where Rogan weighed in on the potential Makhachev versus Topuria fight.
I hope Ilia goes up to 55. I really do.
To fight Makhachev?
Volkanovski, Diego Lopez, 45.
I'll take that.
Ilia goes up to 55. I don't care if he only defended the title one time or didn't.
Agree.
Who cares?
You want Ilia to fight Makhachev?
Let's go.
Oh.
Yeah, but I
Let's
think
go.
face a couple of those guys first, like you just said.
Yeah, it'd be
Diego.
nice, but also, who cares? Let's go. Let's
Yeah,
go.
but Makhachev
That's if you
is
want to make the big fight
so
for
big.
July. You want to make that big fight in July. Is it the Volkanovski rematch? I don't know. I think Volkanovski's people want to probably see him win one.
Even Dustin Poirier talked about the fight. When appearing in an interview on Sports Illustrated, Dustin said that if Topuria does connect, he can put anybody out when talking about the Islam versus Topuria fight.
Like I said to Shmo, like I think from 45 to 170, Topuria has the power and the skills to knock anybody out. His timing, his rhythm, his power is incredible. But the size difference with Islam's wrestling, Islam can't make 45. I know they say Topuria might walk around 190 outside of fights and stuff, but I just think Islam is just too much. But I don't know. But like I said, if Topuria does connect, he can put anybody out.
Oban Elliott also weighed on a potential fight via social media. I also think Ilia's great wrestling and lower center of gravity will make it tough for Islam to get on his hips for the takedown. What do you guys think about a potential Makhachev versus Topuria fight at 155? Let us know down in the comment section below how you see this one playing out. Rogan also weighed in on the flyweight division, questioning why the bantamweight division is able to attract attention when it's only a 10-pound difference. It's also weird that 125, it's real hard to sell. 135, no problem. 135, you got Sugar Sean, you've got Marab. How is it 10 pounds? Like, okay, isn't that weird? That's weird. Mighty Mouse was amazing when he was a champion. Amazing. He was doing wizardry with people. As Brendan Schaub theorized on the same Fight Companion episode, guys at home are watching the flyweight division and thinking to themselves that they can beat up someone who fights at 125, even though they're sorely mistaken. Considering fans down under have thrown their support behind Kai Kara France, if he winds up getting the next crack at the title, it'll be interesting to see if the card does well on pay-per-view. Nate Diaz calls Dustin Poirier a Last week, we reported that Dustin Poirier shut down a fight with Paddy Pimblett. Dustin, in his words, wants legends only and doesn't see a reason to fight Paddy. Nate Diaz saw the quote on Instagram and called out Dustin. Nate wrote, "Fight Paddy, he better than you." Speaking of Dustin Poirier, it looks like he was hacked again on X. As reported last week, Dustin got hacked and it took him a couple of days to get his account back. While yesterday it looks like Dustin was hacked again and his account was promoting a crypto coin. Dustin confirmed the news by posting this on his Instagram story. At this moment, we have no idea what's going on with Dustin's X account, but be careful everyone. Don't fall for these crypto scams. Paulo Costa versus Bo Nickal next. Last summer, Paulo Costa vowed in an Instagram post to bring back the old Paulo after his UFC 302 loss against Sean Strickland, saying that he plans to be more aggressive the next time he steps into the octagon. So far though, there's been no word on when Costa will return to action. This week, during the second episode of the Headlocked podcast, which is hosted by the MMA Guru, Paulo Costa said that people will know this week who he's supposed to be fighting. Not only that, the former title challenger also said he thinks his next fight will be against Bo Nickal.
So Paulo, when's your next one coming up, Paulo? When's your next fight coming up?
I'm just waiting. I think this week we're gonna know. Probably gonna fight some big guys. You guys, I think you're gonna like. I think everybody gonna like. Elliot gonna like. It can be a big fight. Yeah, it's a good name. You know, he has some hype.
So what do you think, Paulo? Is it Bo Nickal? What do you think?
To fight him? No, I think I'm gonna fight him.
Yes, that's what's gonna happen. And you beat him up, body shots.
Yeah, or even taking him down.
The last time we saw Costa inside the octagon was over the summer when he dropped the split decision loss to Strickland, which marked his second straight loss. On the flip side, Nickal's been out of action since his UFC 309 win over Paul Craig. Although he picked up a unanimous decision after the fight, Dana White said that Nickal had some work to do while speaking with media members during the post-fight presser. At the time, Bo Nickal did say he would move up the rankings slowly, saying he wanted to fight 2 more unranked opponents before fighting someone ranked on his YouTube channel. A fight against the number 11th ranked Paulo Costa sounds like a step up in competition for the NCAA legend. Rampage Jackson breaks silence on deleted Bryce Mitchell podcast. Late last month, Bryce Mitchell made a series of highly controversial claims that are so ludicrous we can't even say them on YouTube without getting into some trouble. YouTube even went as far as to remove the podcast where the comments were made. The comments sparked so much outrage that Dana White quickly condemned the featherweight, calling him dumb while speaking to media members. Before Bryce Mitchell made those comments, Rampage Jackson and Bear DeGidio had already booked him on the Jackson podcast and had arranged for his hotel, flight, and transportation. Because of that, they had Mitchell on the pod anyway, despite his controversial comments. However, the podcast seemed to have been a way to just bash Bryce Mitchell without letting him explain his point of view. After Bear DeGidio took a bunch of verbal shots at Bryce throughout the podcast, fans were annoyed over the way DeGidio treated Mitchell. Because of that, the episode of the Jackson podcast got deleted because there was so much backlash. After deleting the podcast, Rampage broke his silence on the matter in an 18-minute long video posted on social media. Here's some key points he made. If you want to watch the full thing, link is in the description.
We had Bryce Mitchell on, and that was saying some crazy. And what y'all don't know is that Bear, he runs everything. He already had Mitchell booked for a long time. Bear pays for flights, hotels, and all that stuff. All those guests that you guys get to see and stuff like that, Bear pays for this, and I think it comes out of his pocket. It was really serious. Like, some of you, y'all don't understand how serious that Bryce was saying. Like, we was just telling him, you got a platform now, you famous. Like, all you other y'all can say, well, y'all want to say on Twitter because you ain't famous. If Bryce retires from, UFC, get hurt and stuff, retire. Like, what if Bryce want to go and do movies after his fighting career? What if Bryce want to make country songs about raising chickens? What if you want to make a song about that? What if you want to do other See, y'all don't think about that, and y'all don't look at the bigger picture. Yeah, and y'all like Dragon Bear, he was stressed as because he has a brand to worry about. And I told Bear, I was like, bro, if you so stressed out, then just cancel the. He was like, oh, I pay for this, all this. Worst come to worst, if he say something, I just won't put it out. And so we did the podcast with Bryce, and he told me to, like, just not the time to joke around and stuff like that. Like, Bryce can really, like, keep saying and maybe his career, you know what I'm saying? Like, this guy's a good guy. Try to, like, tell him, just be careful what he say. That ain't me. I ain't the type of to be telling to do. But I'm gonna be honest, I'm proud of Bear on how he runs. He's smart, but he was just wrong on this one. He should have took my advice. I was gonna come there and make light of it and joke around and stuff, and then just tell him like in a joke way, like, man, bro, be careful what you say. To be honest, Bryce only said 2 things on that podcast that could have got clipped and taken out of context the wrong way. Bear cut it out. I didn't like this energy of that podcast because I couldn't really be myself and joke around. So Bear was actually looking out for him, and then Bear deleted the podcast not because of him looking bad or the comments by him, because he said it was a lot of comments and stuff on there. So my point is, y'all can keep dragging us and stuff like that. Every podcast ain't gonna be a hit. Like, if you guys don't like podcast, don't watch it. And if you don't like one episode, don't watch it. Y'all like dragging my boy Bear. He young in this and he ain't never been in the public eye. He don't know. He thought that he was doing the guy good service by trying to teach him. I ain't gonna lie, I kind of told Bear, I was trying to tell him, like, come on, man, you getting too emotional. I like him. I like working with him. I like laughing and joking around with him. But that podcast, honestly, it wasn't it. And I didn't want that podcast. And I like Bryce. When I met him, and right off the back, I liked him. He's a good dude. And I'm sure that he said a lot of that he don't mean. He did apologize on there. Bear did give him a platform to apologize. Bear just said he didn't want to give him a platform to go and spread more misinformation or talk about stuff that's like touchy subject that we shouldn't be talking about.
So far, Bryce Mitchell and Bear have not said anything about the situation. Alex Pereira thinks Dricus du Plessis is too small. Following Dricus du Plessis' post-fight call-out, Alex Pereira spoke with the middleweight champion backstage about a potential fight at 205, and according to Pereira's coach and translator, Plinio Cruz, DDP agreed. The way Alex Pereira sees things, though, DDP is just too small to compete at light heavyweight. During Daniel Cormier's UFC 312 post-fight video for his YouTube channel, where he shared his immediate thoughts after the event, he opened up on an exchange he had with Alex Pereira.
Dricus du Plessis, the man in the octagon, he calls out Alex Pereira. I told Pereira after the fight, I go, he wants you, Pereira. Pereira goes, he's just too small. Seriously, Pereira goes, this man is just too small. So Alex is huge, though. I mean, he looked massive compared to Dricus. And I love that Dricus has these big goals. I just think that he still has work to do at middleweight before he starts thinking about going up. Khamzat Chimaev being problem number one.
Of course, on top of the fact that a fight with Khamzat Chimaev is next up for DDP, Alex Pereira's got to get through Magomed Ankalaev on March 8th. If both guys wind up getting through their upcoming fights, we could wind up seeing them collide sometime next year. UFC updates. With a big weekend of fights down under, let's take a look at today's UFC fight updates, starting with an update from Brandon Royval, who was recently forced out of his upcoming fight with Manel Kape. In a video released on Instagram, Royval told fans that he suffered a concussion in camp that forced him out of the fight.
Manel Kape, I respect his skills, I respect him as a striker and all that. Training hard for this fight and, you know, being a little reckless and being kind of in the zone for camp, got another concussion. This one was severely worse. It's been over a week at this point and still just dealing with the repercussions of it and the symptoms of a bad concussion.
We also have an update on the UFC's Fight Night card in London, with Umar posting on Monday that his upcoming fight with Alonzo Menefield has been cancelled, although so far there's been no word on what happened or who pulled out. Shifting gears and looking ahead to April, Joe Anderson Brito is set to fight Pat Sabatini on the UFC Vegas 105 card, where Brito will be looking to bounce back from a split decision loss to William Gomez, and Sabatini will look to build on a win over Jonathan Pierce. Last but not least, the UFC 314 card will now reportedly play host to a fight between Darren Elkins and Julian Erosa, with both guys looking to build on 2-fight win streaks. Umar Nurmagomedov provides update on hand injury. Umar Nurmagomedov might have gotten the distance with Merab Dvalishvili, but after the fight, he was left with a pretty gnarly hand injury that landed him on the operating table. At the time, pictures of Nurmagomedov's hand were circulating post-fight. Ali Abdelaziz said that after undergoing surgery, Umar would be looking at a return sometime this summer. Now, in a video posted on Instagram, Umar gave an update on his recovery while speaking in Russian. "Now I can already close my fist. I'll be able to punch in 4 months, so I'll probably return in 6 months." A 6-month return would put him back on track for August, just like Abdelaziz said. The big question, of course, is who he'll wind up fighting once he returns. If Sean O'Malley gets the next crack at the title, and a fight between the two is out of the question, Nurmagomedov could throw down with either Peter Yan or Davison Figueiredo as he works to move himself back into title contention. UFC referee breaks silence on early stoppage at UFC 312. When action kicked off from Sydney, Australia on Saturday night for the UFC 312 card, Anshul Jubli wound up on the wrong end of a first-round knockout. After being dropped just moments into the fight, referee Jim Perdios stepped in, waving off the fight even though Jubli wasn't out cold. The stoppage sparked tons of debate, with Jubli's coach releasing a video on Instagram after the fact, which was translated by Sportskeeda. I would like to give references to 2 fights. First one is Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard. This fight is very important to take note of. This is a fight from 2011. In the first round, Gray Maynard hurt Frankie Edgar thrice, but the fight was allowed to proceed by the referee. Later, Frankie Edgar, despite being hurt, comes back and wins the fight. The second fight reference is of Czech Congo versus Pat Barry. This fight is important because in this fight, Pat Barry hurt Czech Congo very badly, but it was Czech Congo who knocked out Barry later on. Yes, he did make a mistake that he got caught with a punch. There's so much hard work for a fighter that he wants to fight, he wants to show his skill set. But anyway, it is what it is. Anshul will be back. He's motivated, he's hungry, and I guarantee you that next time you watch Anshul, he'll be better than ever before. Merab Dvalishvili seemed to agree that the stoppage was early. In a post on social media, he weighed in, adding, "Worked so hard in training camp and gets an early stoppage. Hate this." Given the controversy, referee Jim Perdios released a statement defending his stoppage during a conversation with Go MMA YouTube. "I understand how bad Anshul wanted this for India, and I get it. I have a ton of love for India, but he was out when I jumped in, and that is that." Despite the fact that Jubli is now on a 2-fight skid, he seems to be in good spirits. In a video released on Instagram, he gave his fans a post-fight update. Life update, that life is still good. "I'm safe and healthy, my parents are safe and healthy, what else do I need? I'm enjoying the rain in Sydney, and those who are saying negative things about me, they think that it will affect me. I have the bulletproof mind. I'm the one who's fighting at the highest level. I made it to the UFC, made my parents proud, made my country proud. God gives their hardest battles to their bravest soldiers." No word on how long of a medical suspension he's received. But given that he's been on the wrong end of back-to-back knockouts, expect Jubli to be on the sidelines for at least a few months. After the loss, fans were quick to share an old interview clip of Anshul Jubli saying he could knock out, submit, and in his words, do anything against Khabib Nurmagomedov. If there's something different between Khabib and me, then they are different on skill levels, but I will definitely take that chance. I have to survive the first round. Can knock out in the second round, I can submit Khabib, I can do anything. So that confidence is there, and if I get a call that with Khabib or with the current champion Islam, if I have a fight, I will jump at that opportunity. This comment did not age well. Let's just say if you're a fan of Anshul Jubli, stay off social media for a while because people are clowning him for these comments after his UFC 312 loss. Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen respond to MMA Guru's comments. MMA Guru called out DC and Chael, saying he can't trust USA Wrestling credentials anymore. He essentially said that the two always hype up these wrestlers, and whenever it comes down to fighting in the UFC, they don't perform as well. Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen reacted to the comments on their Good Guy Bad Guy show on ESPN.
MMA Guru, who I really don't know who that is, but the way that Air said it to me today, it means that this person's somebody, because she goes, did you see what MMA Guru said? And I'm like, well, I have no idea who MMA Guru is. She said, MMA Guru said, not trusting Chael or DC. He called both of us out and he said, I'm not trusting USA Wrestling credentials anymore. I've been gaslit for years by the likes of Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen about these monsters that wrestle. To MMA Guru, what do you have to say?
For MMA Guru to call that out, I will tell you, it has been slow for me to learn this. The fact that a wrestler used to come and do it, we just don't live in that game anymore. It is such a complete style now. It is not something where you can get through college and then start picking up some boxing lessons on the side and you're good enough for the octagon. That was true at one point. But if Guru is just arguing that these hard, gritty, tough wrestlers isn't enough, he does win this argument. Wrestling is not enough, not by itself.
He's wrong, Chael. He's wrong.
Well, MMA Guru saw the clip and said this. Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen made their response to my take on US wrestling and modern MMA on the recent episode of Good Guy Bad Guy on ESPN. Welcome to the algorithm, boys. I don't know what I possibly could have done to annoy DC in such a way. Tomorrow I respond. MMA Guru then went on to claim that Daniel Cormier is acting like he doesn't know him, but he's confident Cormier knows. Bo Nickal also reacted to the comments made by the MMA Guru and invited him on his podcast. MMA Guru, come on my podcast, let me educate you on American wrestling, my brother.